We have the capability. We have this data set. First time it's ever been invented. First time we've ever had this resource to understand who people really are on the inside and what they care about and what drives them and what makes them tick. And so it's super powerful as a uniting force. I get asked to come and speak all the time right now about how do we get everybody in our industry together on the same page? How do we get everybody inside our organization together on the same page? How do we use this as a way to understand our customers who seem to be divided between this team and that team? Everybody seems divided and messed up right now. And this is a way for us to find common ground that really makes business human.
Welcome to Engage Presents. I'm Engage co-founder and president Jake Olson. In this interview series, I ask Engage talent the most common questions we hear from event planners to help you get to know them and their stories in 15 minutes or less. Thanks for listening. Welcome to Engage Presents. I am Engage president Jake Olson. Alongside with me today, a very special guest, David Allison. David, you are very interesting. I've never heard of a human value expert. You are a best-selling author. You created Valuegraphics, your own company. So a lot to talk about today, David. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me over. Nice place you got here.
Yeah, thank you. So, David, tell us a little bit about why you started Valuegraphics and kind of what went into that.
Yeah, so I, like all of us, had a job before getting into the speaking world and the research world, where my job was to try and understand groups of people and figure out what was making them tick. Mine happened to be in marketing, but sales, employee engagement, leadership, strategy development, product development, doesn't matter what you do. You're trying to figure out a group of people and trying to what makes them tick so you can get them to do something you want them to do. And I noticed a pattern, which is that we would use demographics to try and understand them. They're Gen Z, they're female, they make $250,000 a year, or whatever it might be. And then we'd leap to assumptions about what those folks want based on that information. And time after time after time, when we did this for our clients, and I talked to a bunch of other friends who do similar things, and they found the same thing, the folks who'd show up, the folks who'd buy the stuff, the folks who you actually reached were far different than the ones you targeted using demographics. There seemed to be this massive disconnect there. So started figuring this out, and it's landed me here that demographics are a great way to look at a group of people, your customers, your clients, your prospects, whoever it might be, but they don't tell you who they are. It just tells you what they are. So we invented value graphics to lay on top of demographics and say, so for example, last speech I gave was to a whole bunch of folks who run colleges and universities across the United States of America. And they said to me, listen, we're having a lot of fights on our campuses between faculty, staff, and students. How do we all learn to get along? And so we profiled those three groups across college campuses and universities and got up on stage and said, here's some things you agree on. Here's some shared human values that you all see eye to eye on. And so if you frame up everything you're trying to get those folks to do based on those things they agree on, it's common ground you can stand on. And you can say, okay, we may not agree on everything, but we agree on this stuff. Now let's see if we can't find a way together to solve some of the things that we have ahead of us.
And so that's basically how you use value-based data to kind of build teams and connections.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take it and look at it from an internal perspective. If you're looking at workplace engagement or employee engagement, workplace culture, recruitment, retention, all of those things that an organization needs to be paying attention to today. What's the best way to do that? Is it by thinking, well, we got a lot of Gen Z here, and Lord knows Gen Z likes ping pong tables and cereal in the lunchroom? Or is it to say, listen, across all generations, across all the folks in our workforce, they all over-index compared to a norm on, let's say, the value of personal growth. So as an organization, how can we help them feel like coming to work is helping them grow as a human being and become a better version of themselves tomorrow than they are today? That's a data point you can now lean into and start to develop strategies and tactics and implement initiatives that will help folks feel engaged and motivated and inspired when they come to work, instead of leaning back into these stereotypical ideas about what people want based on how many birthdays they've had, or whether they're, senior management or, a new hire. People, our values that motivate us, values don't discriminate based on all that other stuff. Our values are our values. So let's figure what those are. Now, here's the interesting thing, we've all been talking about values for a very long time. How many sessions have we all sat through where it's about mission, vision, values? Everybody on the news, you just sit and listen to the news tonight. Everybody's talking about values this and values that. But it's just poetry. because we're just picking pretty words that we all like and make us feel warm and fuzzy. We know how powerful they are when you get the values right, but there hasn't been a way to use data to do that before. And so that's what we've done. We've gone and interviewed 1 million people around the world in 152 languages. And we've built this robust data set of what our shared values are. And so for every keynote, I go in there and I say, okay, who are you trying to understand? You want to understand a group of, okay, you're a car salesman. You want to understand how to sell more cars to potential car customers. Let's go in there and find, oh, here's the things they care about. Talk to them about this stuff. Oh, you're in HR departments and you're trying to figure out how to get employees more engaged or to come into your industry sector, perhaps. Let's go and find out, oh, look, this is the stuff they care about. Talk to them about this. So whatever the problem is, whatever the issue is inside an organization, it doesn't really matter because all those problems and issues, they're all about people.
So
And
you'll
people
so
are about values.
so you'll actually go and sit down with whoever is booking you and go through a process of really almost doing kind of a research based back dive into kind of who you're talking to or what they want to talk about, who they want to talk about, and kind of develop a speech from there.
Yeah, I get a lot of pushback from my buddies who are also speakers because of all the work we do. We have a full research company that doesn't have anything to do with speaking. Companies come and hire the research company to figure out the shared values of whoever it is they're trying to engage and motivate. And that research company does a full-blown research report for every one of my keynote gigs. So this is deeply customized. There's a dashboard with page after page after page of data, and we go in there and we pull out 2 or 3 salient points and we build a custom keynote around those 2 or 3 pieces of information and give everybody in the room those tools in order to be able to leave and go back and engage and motivate and inspire whoever it is they want to reach.
Wow, that's powerful, David. That's really powerful. Okay, kind of a fun question here. As you mentioned, you've interviewed a lot of people in a lot of different places. I will kind of throw 2 questions at you, because
Okay.
one might, I don't know, may not be appropriate, it might be silly, I don't know. But what's like one value system that you found in a group of people where you're just like shocked that, like this group of people would care about this? I don't know. I'm thinking maybe like pineapple on pizza. This just must be a value that, or
Which
and
is, by
then
the way, boo, pineapple on pizza. We don't
see,
do that. Like,
okay,
no,
I
no,
got
no.
it.
Uh,
But so there's that, and then if that's too silly of a question.
no, no, it's
What?
great. Let's start there. Hold your second question. Let's start with that one. So here's the thing. Pretty much every group of people that we go and profile, and this is based on hundreds of millions of data points in the Valuegraphics database. We always find something really unexpected. We all use stereotypes to try and understand groups of people, but when you actually look at what's going on inside their hearts, they're not that simple. Let me give you a quick story. So, one keynote I did was for folks who own companies that employ the blue collar trades. HVAC, carpenters, plumbers, electricians. And they wanted me to come and talk about how do we get more people into the blue collar trades? How do we get more people into our sector? Having a hard time with talent recruitment. So we did our study, got up on stage, shared a bunch of things with them. But the one I want to tell you about is that the folks who are considering a career in the blue collar trades over index like I've never seen before on one value that we call service to others. They want to feel like they're in a helping profession, like they're making a difference in people's lives. So I tell them this. I say, listen, my friends, you're saying all the right things. You're going to earn more money if you come into the blue collar trades. You're going to be able to settle down, get out of the shift work, maybe start that family you've been thinking about. But what you're not saying and you need to say is this is your chance to help people and make their lives better. So here's where the story gets good. I got down off stage. This guy comes over to me and he says, listen, I have 7 offices in 7 cities across the southern United States. And in each office, there's a fleet of pink vans. There's a fleet of vans. I got this wrong. There's a fleet of vans, and one is pink because every day, the money from that pink van in my fleet of vans, it all goes to fund breast cancer research because my wife, and he had a story about doing that. And I said, that's fantastic. You found the service to others value data point with, I said, no, David, that's not the story. The story is that every day my teams fight over who gets to be in the pink van. Now, if we'd sat down and talked about, okay, blue collar workers, what are we going to do to try and get those folks to come into the trades, would we ever have gotten to pink vans and service? Never in a million years. We'd have said things like beer, pizza, football. We would never have said pink vans and service to others. So there's always something surprising that comes out when we profile a group, and it's powerful, powerful stuff.
That is an awesome story. Thank you for sharing that. That is powerful, and I can tell how excited you are just about what you do and the difference you make. So tell us kind of what's next. With AI now and all this kind of you know research going into trying to study people, trying to get their values. Kind of what excites you next in this whole industry?
The industry of speaking or my industry of human values research?
Why not just marry the two? So both.
Okay. There's never been a time in human history, as far as I'm concerned, where we are more in need of things that bring us together and things that unite us. And right now, we have the capability, we have this data set, first time it's ever been invented, first time we've ever had this resource to understand who people really are on the inside and what they care about and what drives them and what makes them tick. And so it's super powerful as a uniting force. I get asked to come and speak all the time right now about how do we get everybody in our industry together on the same page? How do we get everybody inside our organization together on the same page? How do we use this as a way to understand our customers who seem to be divided between this team and that team? Everybody seems divided and messed up right now. And this is a way for us to find common ground that really makes business human. And if you'll permit me to just kind of wrap that up around why it's so important to me and my team. If we don't do this, if we don't start using values as a way to understand other people and ourselves and the people around us and the folks who want to engage with our work, if we don't do this, we're left with relying on demographic stereotypes about people, that Gen Z are all like this and baby boomers are terrible with technology, and women, well, they all like pink, right? So everything should be pink if it's a product that's focused for a female target audience. It's just ridiculous stereotypes that aren't true. And those stereotypes can be harmful and hurtful. But worst of all, those stereotypes that we're innocently perpetuating in our boardrooms by continuing to rely on these old-fashioned ways of thinking about people. These stereotypes are the fuel for ageism and sexism and racism and homophobia and ableism and classism and dot, 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 and this whole list of things that we're all grappling with and trying to figure out a way to get away from and to not have to consider these as part of the problem anymore. And yet, we all sit around still talking about each other as if all gay people are the same and all women are the same and all young people are the same and baby boomers are all the same. So if we just change the way we think about each other and start with yourself, realize that you are a values-driven being waking up every morning looking for what's aligned with your values, that'll kind of force you to look at everybody else that you encounter, your friends, your family, your coworkers, your customers, your clients, your employees, and realize that they're just driven by their values. And if we can get enough people to start having this values-driven perspective on the world, as corny as it sounds, we can change the world. We can make things better for all of us by understanding who we really are and not these outdated, old-fashioned ideas of who we are.
Well, David, I agree with you. That's very powerful stuff, very meaningful stuff. I can just kind of tell, just given our talk today, how passionate you are about this, how much it's impacted you, and you've seen it impact others. So we appreciate the work you do. We appreciate you bringing the insight into everyone that you do speak to. We're proud to get you out there to deliver that message. So if you want to check out David, letsengage.com. You can check out his profile and book him there. I really encourage you to do so, David. Thank you so much for joining us today.